All right, everyone, good evening. This is Dr.SHIVA. As many of you know, this is our town hall every Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. We do a town hall, and it's really dedicated. The first part of it is focused on our campaign for president, where we take a typical topic and we go down to it very, very deep. And it's typically something that is non-theoretical, but something doing with what's going on in our campaign, or an issue of importance. Today, we discussed governance. Last week, we discussed innovation. The week before that, environment. And the week before that, we did on healthcare. And the week before that, we did on economy. So we keep rotating 6 different issues that we keep continuing. And the goal of this is to really help all of you guys understand that our movement, our campaign, Shiva for President, has very powerful policies. So that's what we want to do. What I want to talk about today is about governance. Over time, what occurs is people get used to corruption. You get used to evil, and it creeps on you in very, very powerful ways that a lot of people don't even understand. Just sort of set yourself back. If you were prior to 1886, prior to the 14th Amendment, and even up until 1963 or 68, and even some parts of the United States, if you're a person of color and you went into a restaurant and because of your color, you weren't allowed in. And there were a certain portion of Black people who said that was okay. They just sort of said, well, that's just the way things are, and it's the way things have been, and that's just the way things are going to be. People sort of just assumed that's okay. It sort of was really, really deeply ingrained into them. Or if you were women in the United States prior to 1917, it was thought that women are lesser and they should not have a right to vote. After the Democrats and the Republicans actually laughed at Susan B. Anthony. And then it took a massive movement for people to recognize that things had to change. But if it wasn't for those movements, nothing would have happened. Very, very important to understand. You could file lawsuits, you could run for office, but without movements, there is no teeth to anything. And this is very hard for a lot of people to really comprehend fully because they haven't been involved in getting off their butts and, like Chris was just saying, going out and collecting signatures or going out and handing out flyers or talking to people. It's just deeply ingrained into people as though that things just happen, and be thankful things just happen and someone else is going to do something. But that's not the case. And if you've actually been in one of those groups, or it doesn't need to be people who are Black or people of color. Poor whites in the United States are one of the most discriminated people on the planet because of the level of brainwashing that occurs to them by the establishment. So it's quite extraordinary. But the thing that I want to talk about today is, many of you know that we're running a historic presidential campaign because, number one, it's truly by the people, for the people. Everyone in our movement, everyone who's part of Shiva for President, are volunteers, everyday working people. None of us are paid. Very, very different if you go to Trump's campaign, Booby Kennedy's campaign, Biden's campaign. They go raise money from hardworking people who have $400 on a good day in their bank account, and they're writing checks out for Trump for $400. It's quite extraordinary, okay? And our movement is built up of everyday people who have a job, who are retired, who worked years in their life, and then they do this because of their love and deep understanding of what we're doing. So it's quite a different campaign in a very, very different way. So as many of you know, we launched our campaign on April 18th, 2023, and we built our website. You know, we organized people. We have a whole campaign apparatus all over in every state. We filed our FEC papers. We filed in every state. In the United States, there's obviously 50 states in the District of Columbia, some of the territories. in order to get on the ballot, you have to collect signatures, okay? Before you can collect signatures, you have to go through and you have to ask for the papers to collect signatures. Some states, it's very easy. Just download the signature forms and you start collecting, all right? And every state varies. And we have been diligently doing that. People like Rebecca Mahopoulos, Emily Cross, Crystal Ellis, and others, Maria Canister, have been calling up all of these states. We don't have a legal team. These guys pay their lawyers, $10, $20 million just to do that. We do it all on our own. Okay? So, looking into the future in June of 2023, 60 days after we announced, we knew that these corrupt government officials are corrupt, that they would try to stop our campaign. We got signatures. They would try to say, oh, you're not natural born. Like, you're of a certain color. You don't have the right to become president. And it's fascinating because so many Americans think this is the law when it's absolutely not true. People have been ingrained. And let me just give you the history of this. In the late 1700s, after the American Revolution, there are what are called the Articles of the Constitution, which preceded the Bill of Rights. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, okay? Well, the Articles, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the Constitution, laid out the qualifications for president, okay? The qualifications it had in there was, one, you have to be a certain age. Everyone's age varies, so you have to be around 35 years age. You have to be here 14 years, and you had to be, quote unquote, natural born. Well, natural born was never, ever defined in the Constitution. It was so not defined. I mean, natural born, what does it mean? Are you coming out of your mother's womb? Are you born in a test tube? Are you, in a, cesarean? I mean, or is it about being born in the soil? It's never defined. In fact, the Marquis de Lafayette, who was a French, born in France, was deemed by the Maryland legislature to be natural born. They just gave him the honorific, you're natural born. And in fact, all of his heirs and his children were told that they were natural born, okay? Does that make sense? So natural born, to anyone who really studies this, was never defined. And you can talk to any legal scholar on the planet, and they'll agree with me on this. It was never defined. Anyway, so that was at a period, some people argue, the framers of the Constitution did that. They were concerned that the King of England may have a prince who would come to the United States, become a naturalized citizen, and then try to take over the United States. Okay, so they had that kind of concern about loyalty, etc. All right. In about 1886, there was an amendment passed, one of the most profound amendments, called the 14th Amendment, 1-4. And the 14th Amendment had a very important clause in there called the Equal Protection Clause, which said you cannot discriminate people by their race. Black and white people are equal, also by national origin. Whether you're a naturalized citizen or you're quote unquote natural born, again, which no one knows what that meant, you cannot be discriminated. Very, very important. It's called the Equal Protection Clause. And that sat there for many years. Laws get created, but then they have to be tested in the waters. In 1954, in a very important lawsuit called Bolling, B-O-L-L-I-N-G versus Sharp, the Supreme Court ruled, so remember, the 14th Amendment was applied to the states. So if you're in a state and state officials discriminate against you, or there's discrimination by national origin or race in a particular state, those people can be sued. It's illegal. That's what the 14th Amendment said. Remember, you have the states in the United States, 50 states, the District of Columbia, some of the regions, and you have the federal government. In many ways, the federal government is like the holding company. It's got all the shareholders, and then we have individual subsidiaries, right? So the federal government did not have the Equal Protection Clause. You could, frankly, discriminate at the federal level. Well, anyway, in Bowling versus Sharp, it was a very, very powerful lawsuit, which got taken up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment applies to the 5th Amendment, which is the Due Process Clause. You know, how you get treated in due process, right? Justice system. So after that, quite a profound thing took place. The 14th Amendment covered all the states, and the 5th Amendment basically took on the 14th Amendment characteristics, which meant that at the federal level, you also could not discriminate. Very, very important ruling, 1954. In 1964, in Schneider versus Rusk, another important ruling took place. A German U.S. citizen, naturalized citizen, left America and went to live in Germany. And when he came back, the government said, "Oh, you're no longer a citizen." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, you've been out of the United States for more than whatever the number of years was." And he said, "That's bullshit." He goes, "Would you say that to a naturalized citizen?" That went also to the Supreme Court. I mean, a natural born citizen. And the Supreme Court ruled unequivocally, one of the most important lawsuits, that you cannot do that. A naturalized citizen is equal to a natural born citizen. In Schneider versus Rusk, 1964. It should end at that point. There's nothing more to say. This was at the Supreme Court level. And the 14th Amendment and Supreme Court rulings like that abrogated, Article 2, Section 1. Now, a lot of people, again, are dumb, and they don't understand that things that come after supersede the things that came before. So, for example, the articles in the Constitution say only he can be president. He. Well, how did that get overruled? Well, there was something called the 19th Amendment, which applied the 14th Amendment for sex, right? So women are equal to men. And therefore, the 19th Amendment allows women to run for president, okay? But if you just went and read the articles, you would say, only natural born people can be president and not naturalized. So we studied the law very carefully. Now we know, because of people who don't love this country, who actually believe in racism and believe that you can discriminate, and most of them are in the government, everyday, ordinary, hardworking people, frankly, aren't like this. They're frankly against it. If you study it carefully and you observe things, people want to live in harmony. But government officials are like this because they're corrupt and they get paid on the back end, the swarm, as we call it. So knowing this would occur, knowing that we are running our campaign, knowing that some of these government officials may try to stop us at the state level, I filed what's called the declaratory relief lawsuit. What that means is we're telling the government, we filed it against Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General of the United States. What is the role of the Attorney General? Well, he's in the executive branch. What is the role of the executive branch? To defend the Constitution and enforce the laws. So we sued Merrick Garland, and we also filed this in the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C., and we also sued the D.C. Board of Electors, the chairman of it, a guy called Gary Thompson, because we said, look, I'm going to be getting on the ballot in D.C., and you better not get in my way. It's called injunctive relief. You know that they're going to do something, and you file it ahead. All right, so whenever you file a lawsuit, what happens? If you're suing somebody, the government in this case, or anyone, the first thing they're going to do, their lawyers are going to try to say, oh, there's no case here. The person has no standing. You may want to write this word down, standing. What does standing mean? Standing is a number one issue in a court case. So if you're suing someone, it doesn't get dismissed, which means you have to show that, number one, you actually have an injury that was done to you. Number two, you have to show that injury is imminent or it has taken place. Number three, you have to show that the person you're suing is the one who committed that injury or will commit it. And number four, that if the court took the action you wanted it to take that you're requesting, that it would resolve the issue. Got it? So you have to prove this litmus test. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer, but I filed lawsuits. I probably have more experience in litigating myself than 90% of lawyers who never even see the light of a courtroom to go litigate. And you guys know from the winbackfreedom.com, the historic lawsuit we did against the government of Massachusetts, which revealed the backdoor portal into Twitter. That was done by me, not by anyone else, not in Hunter Biden. I did that. A lot of hard work. So we filed that lawsuit, knowing that they would file dismissals. Well, they filed so we waited on the beginning of last month. We got the dismissal notice from Gary Thompson, who's a board of electors of DC. And I'm going to share that with you. And also Merrick Garland, 2 defendants. Now, today's conversation is about governance and corruption. Now, most people, if I'm going to show you what they wrote back, they would say, okay, and they would walk away. They wouldn't have the resources to fight. They wouldn't have the wherewithal. They wouldn't have a movement. You see, you can file court cases all day you want, but it doesn't mean anything unless you have the force of other people. We have the force of our movement for truth, freedom, health, like the civil rights movement, like many other movements, like the revolutionary movements. And that movement is behind us. And I'm going to now share with you what I mean by this. All right, so we filed our lawsuit, and the defendants, Gary Thompson, the chairperson of the Board of Electors of the District of Columbia, writes back, and so does Merrick Garland. What do they tell us? They tell us, our campaign, that we don't exist. We're a non-theoretical campaign. A theoretical campaign. They openly lie to the judge. We don't have a website. We don't have a campaign apparatus. And so let me share that with you. And when you see this, you're going to see how extraordinary this is, how people lie. And if you take it in the chin, nothing will ever happen, okay? So let me show you this. And I'm showing you actually the lawsuit that I put together. The last 7 days have been nonstop work, literally probably 19, 18 hours with a little bit of sleep for the last 7 days. All right. So let me begin. Chris, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Does that show up? Okay. I'm going to, for the rest of the people over in the other world, I have to do the same thing in the world of social media. So to everyone on social media, I'm also sharing it. So people on social media can see this, and people on our Zoom. By the way, to everyone logging in, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. We're doing our town hall, and we're discussing governance, okay? We have close to about 1,100 people online there, okay? So let me walk everyone through this. So what you're seeing is a lawsuit. I wrote it. And let me walk through this with you guys. All right. So it says plaintiffs, which is me. By the way, notice the plaintiff, if you ever heard that term, that's a person who's filing the lawsuit against the defendants. The defendant is Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General of the United States, and Gary Thompson. Plaintiff is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. This is what it says. The plaintiff, Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, a bona fide candidate for president of the United States. That means I'm a real candidate. And you'll see why this is important. I said this. Respectfully submits this opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss. And I say this court must deny defendant's motion to dismiss, since defendant's arguments are premised on 4 false misrepresentations, one of which is a bold-faced lie for which this court must sanction, which means fine the attorneys. And it gets quite interesting. Why am I saying this? Why am I being so bold about this? Some may find it arrogant, but I'm not arrogant. It's just the truth. And to corrupt government officials, you have to deal with them you have to call them out. And because we have our force of our movement, we do that. In addition to, my own experience, but the defendants, argument that plaintiff lacks standing, which means they're telling, get out of this court, there's nothing to see here, in this court is based on a big lie. Defendants state, and I want you to look at this, what they said in their motion to dismiss. Candidacy, which means plaintiff, Dr. Shiva's candidacy, is no more than theoretical. And plaintiff has not, quote, this is right out of their dismissal, taken any steps in support of his purported candidacy for president, such as assembling a campaign apparatus, engaging in political advertising, creating a website, or completing any formal documentation that is required to run for office in any state. I just want you to stare at that. Who wrote this? Who is the attorney for Gary Thompson? It is the Attorney General of the District of Columbia, a public official who gets paid by tax dollars. Just read what he's writing. To all the hundreds of thousands of people, the millions of people who know about our campaign, the 500 million people throughout the world who know I'm running, he's saying that our campaign is no more than theoretical. He's saying we don't even have a campaign organization. We don't do any advertising. We don't even have a website. That's what he's saying. So my response to this was a few keystrokes on the internet brings up the plaintiff, Dr. Shiva's campaign website. There it is. Which plaintiff, a candidate for president, launched on April 18, 2023. And you can go look at this. This has been up for nearly a year now. So this guy is saying we don't even have a website. And then I found, I registered this website, planning to run for president October 28th. And you can go find this in the domain registry. There it is, October 28th. And then I said, it is hard for this plaintiff and should be for this court to believe that in the year 2024, defendant Gary Thompson and his attorneys are incapable of using the internet to find this website. Discovery in this case will reveal the reason for defendants making such an egregious misrepresentation that plaintiff, quote, has not taken any steps in support of his purported candidacy for president, such as creating a website. Then, this is what took a lot of time. I produced and organized a 140-page evidentiary document, which is an Exhibit A. When you file a lawsuit, the limit is 45 pages. This is 39, but I put all the evidence in a Exhibit A. What is Exhibit A? And then we got affidavits from all of our regional leaders, state leaders. We have state and regional leaders all over this country. So here's the evidence of that, all right? I think I have to go here, and I have to now share with people. Let me share with people at home the evidence. So I'm going to share with you evidence by evidence, okay? So first of all, we have the evidence that we actually have a real bona fide campaign, okay? This is not some bullshit campaign. It's a real campaign, right? So let me bring this up. All right. So I shared this for the people at home. Let me also bring it up for the people on our Zoom call here. So I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to share with you Exhibit A. Again, a lot of work, guys. And everyone, please lower your hand until I'm done with this, and then we'll go to questions, okay? Thank you. Appreciate that. It's distracting when people do that, all right? So, all right. So this is Exhibit A. What is Exhibit A? Exhibit A, by the way, they have a 25 megabyte limit. The government can't handle more than 25 megabytes, so you have to split it. So Exhibit A is split into 4 sub-documents, okay? Chris, assume you guys can see this, right? Okay, so let me go to Exhibit A. Okay, so this is Exhibit A. So Exhibit A, again, look, we have a website. We have this. By the way, here's our announcement when we launched. When did we launch? And we launched in April. There's our announcement. Here's the evidence of us RSVPing. People came to the building. We had thousands of people live watching it, right? There's that. And then there's our website again. We created a campaign video. Everyone can watch it. And we put up our thing for people to become volunteers. This is a real bona fide campaign. Then we have downloads. We have a flyer. People, millions of these flyers have been printed and put up all over the United States on telephone poles, everywhere, okay? Handing out to people. We have bumper stickers. We have lawn signs. This is called political advertising, okay? Tens of thousands of bumper stickers have been put out there. People can support the campaign. They can donate. Sure looks like a bona fide campaign. In fact, even the media who doesn't like us has covered us. The New Boston Post, they're comparing me to Nikki Haley here, or from, 4 Indians running. We're in Ballotpedia. We're on Business Insider, all over the world, in Times Now. So clearly, we're a real campaign. They also said we have no formal documentation. Well, here's the FEC's actual filing. They've accepted my filing, okay? Then we have to file quarterly reports. That's our first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, so on. And on top of that, they said that we have not filed in any state. Look at this. Well, we have. We filed in Idaho and Utah. We're already we got enough signatures to be on the ballot. In all of these other states, we filed the paperwork and we're running. And we're getting signatures. Okay? In these other states, we have to do special filings. And here are all the forms. Remember, these guys said we haven't filed anything. Here are the actual things in Arizona, right? In every state where filings are required, all the meticulous stuff we've saved, the receipts, all this stuff we have filed, okay? But they have said that we have not filed anything. Here's in Florida, all right? We have filed all the paperwork like a professional bona fide campaign with all volunteer resources, no lawyers, no high-paid people. All of this stuff takes massive amount of work. And I want y'all to see it. Then we don't have any volunteers. We don't have a campaign apparatus. Here's Alabama for president. Here's Alaska for president. Here's Arizona. Here's Arkansas. Here's California. These are hard-working Americans, not bougie swamp creatures. According to them, none of these people exist. We don't have a campaign. All of this is theoretical. Look at people making banners for us, sewing them together. People out there handing out our flyers. None of these people exist, according to the Attorney General of the District of Columbia. Maria out there working hard, right? Martinez out there made his own banner, puts it up, carries it around with him. And by the way, that's just one piece of it, okay? Let me go back to people, because I want to share. You guys need to see all this, all the stuff we put together, okay? So that was just one of the exhibits. Now I'm going to go to the second exhibit, which is part of that, where we're showing people that we have a bona fide campaign, all right? So let me go to the second piece. I don't want to belabor this point, but it's important that you guys see this. The level of lying people do. And if we didn't have the resources to do this, or we didn't have the wherewithal or the gumption, you'd let them get away. But we don't do that. Not the Movement for Truth, Freedom, Health. Chris, can you see A2? Okay, here we go. We continue. This is California, okay? We're just at the C's. Remember, our campaign, Colorado, Connecticut. People make up their own signs. People are out there campaigning. These are our leaders. District of Columbia, Florida, okay? None of these people exist according to the Attorney General of the United States. Georgia, right? Hawaii. There's a guy who built a freaking boat and sailed it from California all the way, I believe, to Thailand and back with Shiva for president on it. These are hardworking, everyday people. Idaho, Amy out there who went all the way to Montana to help collect signatures. Crystal, Eric. In the cold, they're out in Utah collecting snow and sleet. None of these people freaking exist for these people, okay? All right. Now, that's exhibit. That's just exhibit. Let me show you the next one, okay? So I want you to see all of these people, because it should really get you pretty pissed off that they're saying we American people do not exist. And this is what they do to marginalize people every day. They treat us, all of us, not only me A naturalized citizen is a second-class citizen, but all of us. It's unacceptable behavior. And they've lied in court, and they think they're going to get away with it. All right, let me go to, so that was Exhibit A3. Let me go to Exhibit A3 here, okay? So here's A3. So where do we, so this is Illinois, all right? This is people in Illinois, Dustin Anderson out there, okay? Indiana, all right? Tanya Bolt, right? This is Iowa. People collect Kansas. Kentucky, Nicholas Lupo, who, was arrested for collecting signatures, illegally arrested. Here's Louisiana, Maine, Jamie Valentino out there with others, Maryland, Massachusetts. None of these people exist. Our campaign is theoretical. Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi. People out there on their own time, Montana. Nice doggy. Okay, Nebraska. None of these people exist. We're all marginalized. Kennedy exists, Biden exists, Trump exists, but we don't exist. That girl doesn't exist. Nevada, New Hampshire, that woman doesn't exist. All right? Let me finish with the last one here. It's disgraceful. Let me go back here. And I want to share with you Appendix 4. And all of this stuff we had to put together. We didn't have, this lawsuit would have cost anyone else $2 to $3 million to do. We did it on our own. Booby Kennedy would have been begging people to give him money, okay? That's what he would have done. Let me go here to A4. All right. So this is more, all right? So this is New Jersey. People out there. Political advertising, New Mexico. This is political advertising, which they say do not exist. New York. Delio. All right? This is political advertising. Doris. Going to different festivals. All these people do not exist, according to the District of Columbia and the Attorney General of the United States. Ohio. Rebecca. Oregon. Pennsylvania. Rhode Island. South Carolina. Tennessee. People making their own banners, downloading our stuff. Texas, truck drivers putting our stuff on. Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. So there you go. According to them, none of this stuff exists. All right? That's what they're saying. All right? According to them, none of this stuff exists. How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about that? To know that you don't exist. We are truly a real campaign. This is not a fake campaign. It's a real campaign. And this is why they must make us invisible. Because they've never seen anything like this coming at them. It's beyond censorship. It's called discrimination, and it's illegal. So let me go back to the lawsuit, okay? Because you guys all need to learn this, the power of this lawsuit that we've done. And every American who's a real American should wake the fuck up. All right? So let me, again, share for you guys the other piece of this. Someone says, I would love to do, okay, Chris, we can do some call-ins. I'll give you my phone number, Chris, and we can do that, okay? Let me just finish here because I'm not done, all right? Because we need to educate people in this country because they are not educated. They're too busy watching Worldwide Wrestling Federation and thinking Donald Trump and Biden and Booby fucking Kennedy are going to fight for them. The only person that's going to fight for them is me and this campaign for Truth, Freedom, Health. It's the only force. So we filed 140-page A, and then we filed exhibits B through F. What is exhibits B through F? I'll come back to that. It is the affidavits of nearly every of our state leaders in every freaking state, writing everything that they've been doing. All right. So we say the evidence in exhibits A through F unequivocally reveal plaintiff's candidacy for the president is bona fide. On Dr.SHIVA Hydrate is a living, breathing, vibrant, dynamic campaign that has taken many steps in support of his candidacy. Campaign apparatus, we have political advertising, etc. And so that is the first thing. Now, the District of Columbia had a woman called Marissa Corrente, who is the head of the Registrar of Voters, file a false affidavit, a misleading affidavit to be even more accurate, telling the court, oh, Your Honor, there's nothing to see here. Dr. Shiva he's not even on the ballot here. So how can we be discriminating against him? He's not on the ballot. Well, that's a false statement. It's a false statement because you can't even get on the ballot in DC until June 14th. And so so our team does the following 6 things. We first find out what the rules are. Rebecca and Crystal and Emily have been all over that. Then we have to acquire the paperwork. Then we have to submit the forms in a timely manner. Then we have to do this. Well, in DC, we're in the middle of steps 1 and 2. Plaintiff's campaign is between steps 1 and 2. You know why? They haven't even put out the paperwork. And we have Emily Cross called them up, and we have the actual transcript of the discussion Emily had with them. Marissa Corrente advised me, there are no forms currently available to be completed. And information on forms are not available until June 14th. So we wrote in our lawsuit, Marissa Corrente has misled the court. The truth is Marissa intentionally concealed Corrente from this court that the statute that unaffiliated presidential candidates, which is us, independents, are at this time unable to even submit required ballot. You see, these people fucking lie. And what I said here was, this misleading declaration further reveals why this court must sanction defendant's attorneys. The court must also take notice that the defendant, Gary Thompson's attorney, who filed the big lie in the defendant's motion to dismiss, and who also submitted Marissa Corrente's misleading declaration to this court, is Brian L. Schwab, who is not just some attorney, but rather the Attorney General of the District of Columbia. No one calls out these guys. So that was one lie. Then the other misrepresentation, I'm being kind here, was they said the defendants have presented to this court that state federal officials may deny a presidential candidate access to a state's ballot by disqualifying that candidate on constitutional grounds, being an insurrectionist, for example, or not being born. This is false. Why is this false? Well, I'll come back to that, but just keep this in your mind. A state government cannot disqualify anyone, particularly someone running for federal office, to be specific, federal office, the President of the United States. They can't. And that was adjudicated on March 4, 2024 in Trump versus Anderson. Second, the defendants have represented to this court that the Constitution allows discrimination by national origin. Specifically, a naturalized citizen is not equal to a natural-born citizen. This is false. And third, the defendants have presented to this court that plaintiff's injury is unripe for review, that plaintiff faces no imminent injury to being denied ballot access in any state, since ballot's candidacy is nothing more than theoretical. So that was the facts I laid out. And then I had to argue it. This took another set of sleepless nights, organizing it, writing it, rewriting. Look, I'm not a lawyer, guys. I'm not trained in law. So it takes me a little more time, a lot more time, but I'm persistent. And this is the first point. And I want everyone to listen to this carefully. Everyone listen to this carefully. Okay? On March 4th, 2024, a very historic event took place in the United States. What was that? That was the following. And hopefully all of you weren't sleeping on this, okay? But this is what took place. A bona fide candidate, another bona fide candidate called Donald Trump, is running for office. In the state of Colorado, a bunch of citizens got together and they sued it was Trump. They went to the courts and they said Trump should be thrown off the ballot to the state government. Okay. And they said he should be thrown off the ballot because he's an insurrectionist and he violated a provision in the Constitution. Got it? So they went to the state, and that went up to the district court and went all the way up to the local court at the state level, all the way to the Supreme Court of Colorado. And the Supreme Court of Colorado ruled that they're going to disqualify Trump on the ballot. And how do they decide to do that? They point to something in the Constitution. So the state of Colorado finds some clause in the Constitution, say, because of that clause, you're off, Trump. Okay? You following me? They used a constitutional provision. And people say, wow, that seems reasonable. They used the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment for insurrection. Well, the Supreme Court stepped in. And they said, wait a minute, you can't do this. Why? Why can't you do this? Its foundation of the United States is that when the 14th Amendment was passed, it was clarified the states can do their own thing. So if I'm running for state office, the state government, the state of Wyoming, the state of Utah, or the state of New Hampshire can disqualify me if they don't like me. But the states cannot disqualify someone for the federal government. That's a federal office. You follow? Only one organization can disqualify someone off the ballot. Guess who that is? That's called Congress. Because Congress is a representative, we the people. Again, most Americans don't even understand this concept because we don't teach civics history anymore in school anymore. So people say, okay, well, the Supreme Court did do the right thing. You know what? This decision wasn't 4-5, it was 9-0. Every Supreme Court justice, whether they were Ketanji Brown or whether they were Neil Gorsuch, left or right, agreed this is fucked up. And the ruling is no one can disqualify, no state can disqualify a presidential candidate off the ballot citing any fucking provision in the Constitution. Oh, you're not natural born. You're an insurrectionist. They can't do it. So please, you're getting a very, very important education. That is America. By the people, for the fucking people. Which means the founders knew sometimes people would come bottoms up in the states. And the president is a representative of all the people. So, very, very important. So the first thing I had to argue was, you can't do this. This is a violation of the Supreme Court's ruling. And you know what's interesting? This just took place on March. It just took place when? March 4th. So let me bring this up. So again, this was important because I had to go study the ruling. I had to read all the Supreme Court rulings. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Had to do this on my own. And there it is. So it says, the framers of the Constitution, their infinite wisdom, wanted an America of the people, by the people. Congress, as a representative body, we the people, is the only organ of governance that has a right to disqualify or qualify a presidential candidate for access to the ballot, a bona fide presidential candidate. Okay? So I cite Trump versus Anderson. The left and right agreed 9-0 that only Congress can decide who's qualified or unqualified to be on the ballot. Where a candidate for president, the states can't decide, the bottom line. So I have all the proof here showing that. Okay? It was a 9-0 decision, and that's what this is talking about. So in the state of Colorado, now this is where it gets interesting, and listen very carefully. Now, in the state of Colorado, it was the Supreme Court of Colorado which had disqualified Trump. And guess who is one of the Supreme Court justices who overruled this? Neil Gorsuch. Well, listen very carefully. Near 12 years ago, in another case called Hassan versus Colorado, there was another guy who was a naturalized citizen 12 years ago to this day. He wanted to be on the ballot. And he was running, and Colorado said, you can't be on the ballot because they said you're a naturalized citizen. And at that time, Neil Gorsuch who was now the Supreme Court justice, was a justice on the Court of Appeals. He wrote this ruling. He said a state's legitimate interest in protecting the integrity and practical functioning of the political process permits it to exclude from the ballot candidates who are constitutionally prohibited. So this is what I wrote. I said Neil Gorsuch, one of the 9 Supreme Court justices, that had concluded on March 4th that states cannot disqualify and deny ballot access to a candidate running for president, even on constitutional grounds, was then in 2012 the circuit court judge who authored a decision in Hassan versus Colorado that a state could disqualify. So what's the difference? Why is Gorsuch 12 years later saying you cannot disqualify Trump, but he said Hassan on constitutional grounds? You know why, guys? Hassan was not a bona fide candidate. He was a lawyer who was grifting on this. He was just filing lawsuits. He didn't have a movement like we do. He didn't have any of those pictures. He wasn't out there collecting signatures. So I agreed. I said Hassan was not a bona fide candidate, rather a theoretical candidate. And bottom line is, what I said was that they can refer to Hassan. I said history has moved forward. The decision Trump versus Anderson supersedes those rulings. Only Congress can qualify or disqualify a candidate for the president and deny access to a ballot, period. First argument. Second argument is, okay, the courts, federal officials can't disqualify, but you know what? The courts can intervene when there's racism and when there's discrimination by national origin. That's what people fought and died the Civil War for, civil rights movement. And this talks about a very important case where a naturalized citizen, a natural-born citizen, cannot be treated differently. That was a Supreme Court ruling. And I make it very clear, while the natural-born provision of the Constitution, insofar as it permits the invidious national discrimination, is irreconcilable with and is abrogated implicitly by the Equal Protection Clause and the Privileges and Immunities Clause of the 14th Amendment. So bottom line, some idiots may say, oh, the Constitution says you're not natural born. Well, idiot, there was something called the 14th and 5th Amendments, the Equal Protection Clause, and you have Schneider versus Rusk. So please go study your history. And our campaign has to do all this work, and we will. We will help people lift themselves out of the nightmare that they're living in, okay, which is ignorance. So the court in Schneider versus Rusk explicitly concluded that it is illegal to discriminate between a naturalized citizen and a natural-born citizen. Third ruling, okay? So again, that's the third argument that I made. And I went into all the case law, okay, on this. And then finally, in the interest of time, the last argument is they're saying, oh, Dr.SHIVA, no one is throwing you off the ballot. You're not in any impending danger, etc. Well, we are in impending danger. And this is why. And it's called ripeness of the case. Well, the District of Columbia itself, in their lawsuit, in their motion to dismiss it, said, hey, if you file to get on the ballot here, we're going to throw you off. Well, that's going to be 90 days. The second thing is, so that's the first imminent injury in the District of Columbia itself. The second imminent injury is in Utah, and everyone should really get miffed at this. We collected all the signatures in the cold and rain and sleet, and Utah suddenly wants me to prove that I am a natural-born citizen. That's like saying, prove to me, you're white. And the state of Wyoming that will not even give us a petition forms, which is such illegal discrimination. And the letter that I received from the state of Wyoming, which I had to get out of my garbage, okay, that's where I filed it, and I want everyone to read this. This is from the state of Wyoming. It says, we have received your request to approve the circulation of your Wyoming independent presidential candidate petition. Pursuant to this ruling, the Wyoming Secretary of State is tasked with approving your petition prior. We're not even talking about submitting our papers, guys, just getting the petition. As you are aware, the petition requires a signed statement by the candidate declaring he or she qualifies for the office sought, which we did sign. Then they're pulling Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5 of the United States Constitution states that only natural-born citizens can be eligible. Our office conducted a review of the information you provided on the petition and found information indicating that you're not a natural-born citizen. Given the statement required by the petition, which doesn't ask that, by the way, we request that you provide your information of natural-born citizenship. What do they want? Pictures of my mother's womb? I was born out of her womb? It's disgraceful. But people will put up with this shit. This is no different than, if you saw a mulatto person saying, I don't think you're white, show me that you're black or white. Well, this is going to be my response to this. And by the way, who is this? This is some state bureaucrat. If you read his name is CJ. He has no authority. He's not Congress. The Supreme Court has ruled you cannot disqualify a candidate for president. Some bureaucrat. And I want everyone to look at the seal of the state of Wyoming. What does that seal say? And I didn't see this until today. What does it say? Equal rights. So my response to this guy is going to be the following. And I haven't said it, but he will get it. It says, Dear Mr. Young, I received your exhibit dated January 18th. I meditated, prayed, and contemplated on the Great Seal of Wyoming, which says equal rights. It provided direction and comfort. As I bowed down to Lord Jesus, he spoke to me directly and thundered these words for you. Go fuck yourself. That's what he's going to get. My volunteers will be collecting signatures, and your dumb ass can't do anything about it. Trump versus Anderson, Schneider versus Rusk, 5th and 14th Amendments. I'm not a field nigga. I'm off the plantation. And I want him to go reflect on the words equal rights. That's what he's getting back from our campaign. He can go fuck himself. And that's the way we treat with government officials who want to spit on the Constitution and spit on us. Okay? And that's the gumption people need to start having. It's absolutely illegal. It's illegal discrimination. And Trump versus Anderson has made it unequivocally clear you cannot do this. You can't. I mean, Trump was proven in court, according to them, to be an insurrectionist. Supreme Court said, no way, you can't do it. Absolutely no way. So it's time American people learn the fucking law. And that's how you treat a bureaucrat. He's not an elected official. He's not out there collecting signatures. He's asking me to prove that I'm a natural born citizen. I don't even have to sign that form. States cannot disqualify a candidate running for president because a president, according to the Constitution, is of national importance. We, the people, decide. And if someday in the future, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say a robot wants to run for office. Let's take an example. If enough people want to put that robot on the ballot, it will go to Congress. And if that robot is elected, 2/3 of Congress can decide to disqualify. That's we, the people. You get that principle? The states cannot decide that. And we have to have this gumption. And for me, going through filing this lawsuit, I'm like, this is really fucked up. Because we get trained, okay, I'm a second-class citizen. I can create email, I can do this, but you can be the president, but you can't be CEO of the corporation. They used to say that to women, they used to say that to men, they used to say that to poor whites. If you didn't go to the right school. Oh, you didn't go to Harvard. Okay, you can be here, but you can't be on the board of this company. Follow what I'm saying? It's not how it works. They're not going to treat our campaign as second-class citizens. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but we fight. And those of you who are new, the key word of the day is action. You can watch my video, you can do this, and you can have your thoughts, but get your ass off the ground, ass off your butt. Go help us collect signatures. Hand out a flyer. Put one of those bumper stickers on your car. Do that. Be part of this historic movement. Because it doesn't matter what they do to us. We are winning. We win by filing that lawsuit. We win by telling that guy to go fuck himself. Because that's the level of respect they should get. These people are corrupt government officials. Corrupt. No one elected them. And it's time we recognize that this country and the people deserve the best. Trump ain't the best. Booby Kennedy ain't the best. Biden ain't the best. I'm the best. The working people on our campaign are the best. Thank you. We'll take questions. Chris, do you want me to take call-ins?
Yeah, I would love to hear people's thoughts on how they feel about the bold-faced lies about all the people in those photos. Obviously,
Yeah,
showing
let me do this, Chris. Why don't you ask people? I'm going to go get my other phone, and they're going to put up call-in. So you can start with our town hall, get the questions lined up, and I'll look online. Let me go get my other thing. I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good. We'll go to Eric Ramos. Hey, Eric, what's your question?
Yeah, pardon the noise in the background. Basically, in the middle of him talking, I didn't mean to raise my hand, but it was based on, it might be a stupid question, but it was based on the fact that he said there was about a certain amount of papers you could submit with evidence, but he's submitting more than those amount. I was wondering if they would put themselves in their position to say that we're nothing and nobody, just so he can put all the evidence and maybe have too much and they can throw out something in that realm. I'm not saying that that's possible, but that was kind of why I raised my hand while he was in the middle of that. And I want to just thank you again, Dr. Shiva, for all your hard work and representing us and representing yourself and doing all these things that take hours and days and losing sleep. We're never going to stop. You're already our president, so like they can do what they want, but you're already the president. And I just wanted to know, do you think that's a chess move of them saying, oh, these people, they don't even have a campaign, so they can kind of make you prove so much that you have a campaign and go over the amount of evidence you're supposed to submit? I don't know if that's a thing in court.
Eric,
I'm not a lawyer.
Eric, it's actually even simpler than that. Good question, Eric. You have to understand these people are arrogant fuckers. It's much simpler than that. Do you understand that these people got their jobs in government by kissing somebody's ass? Do you understand that? Eric, you can unmute Eric. You have to understand, they didn't go to a trade. They didn't go to MIT and stay awake until 2 in the morning, 1 degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th degree. They didn't create anything. They didn't get a plumber's license. They didn't get an electrician's license. They don't work hard, guys. These people got their jobs by kissing somebody's ass. Do you get that, Eric? Eric, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I definitely get that. I have noise in the background, so he's probably muting me while
so that's the first thing you have to recognize. So when they get into these positions, they have massive arrogance. Okay? Massive arrogance. They think they can just bold-faced lie. They didn't think that I'm such a crazy motherfucker that I would stay awake 7 days, that we have a movement that we would get everyone, and I haven't even shared the full of it, that we got every one of our state leaders to file affidavits. They didn't think we would submit 300 pages of evidence and do such an analysis. You see? Because they've been used to Americans being fat, dumb, and lazy. Eric, that's what it really is. You got what I'm saying?
So yes. So do you get where I'm trying to come from? Do you think it's just arrogance, or do you?
No, we lose nothing by telling them everything we're doing. We put it out. Look.
Okay.
Remember, Eric.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, Eric. We have a movement. I'm not here filing a lawsuit, being a nerd, filing a lawsuit, fighting some victim. I'm fighting a lone man, fighting against him. No, we got a movement, man. We got you. We got Nicholas, right? We have all these people. You follow what I'm saying? We have a movement. We have Dustin. We have Jewel. We have Betty, okay? We got all of you people. They've never seen anything like this. They've just seen this guy Hassan file a stupid lawsuit because he wanted to get some money somewhere. He didn't have a movement, so they have to keep referring to Hassan, Hassan, Hassan. Pray to Hassan all day. Well, that falls apart now. we actually have a movement. The fact that we could share all those papers, right, is important. Now, when you file a lawsuit based on different federal rules, they have a rule that you can only submit certain number of papers, which is 45 pages. But you can submit infinite amount of evidence, which is called exhibits. That's the answer to your question, okay? They didn't think we were going to stay awake day and night, that I'd call up Emily and say, Emily, get this. Crystal, I want you to get this affidavit. I want this and this and this. They didn't think that we would do the following, okay? I'm going to show you this. They didn't think that our volunteers, they didn't think we had any volunteers. They didn't think we would go do the following, all right? They didn't think we'd get everyone else to do this, okay? Let me show this to you. Let me find it here. They didn't think, let me stop here for a second. I want to show you this other piece. They didn't think we were going to get all of our state leaders to write affidavits. They didn't think we even had an organization, or they wanted to think that we were just not going to go do this. They didn't think we had the wherewithal to put together stuff. But you see, I've been fighting all my fucking life against these guys. I was trained to fight. I have a master PhD in fighting, and that's what our campaign has now. So they made some serious blunders here. And that's what this is about. They think they're better than us, and they think they can get away with this everywhere they go. That's what this is about. And you have to really understand that. They really think that they can keep doing this and there will be no price to pay. Okay? So Emily says we don't hear you. Oops. Let me bring this up again. 1 second, Emily. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Chris, I'm joining back. Chris, 1 second. Chris, I'm back. Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to share this with you guys. There's another document that I wanted to share with everyone, which is the document which shows the force that we have, the powerful force of our movement to everyone listening. Booby Kennedy can't do this. He has to pay for everything. No one likes the guy. He's a dope. He's got to buy. If he didn't have money, he'd have nothing. We have no money, but we have a massive movement. And that's people. And that's, you can't put a dollar value on that. So look at all these exhibits we have, Eric. This is Amy, who's heading up Montana, saying, I'm Amy. I'm the leader in Montana. Look at all the work I've done. I've been doing standouts, how many hours per week I put in, okay? And how many signatures she's in the midst of collecting. This is Alejandro, amazing guy, right? He had a lot of debts in his family. He's still in the midst of it, came and collected signatures for us in Utah. He's our leader out in Utah. Here's Ann Fleming out of North Carolina. Ann's in the middle of moving and this, but she's manning our whole North Carolina team. Here's Bozen, a young gentleman out in Washington State. All of these people, Bozen, all of these people have given us affidavits. Bonnie Jones, all right, down in Florida. Here's Crystal Ellis out in Nebraska and the regional leader for all of West and my running mate. All right. Here's Daniel Louie up in New Hampshire, who's a leader up there. All of these people, and they're saying we don't have a campaign apparatus. Here's Devin Jameson, who did amazing work in Idaho. Here's Dustin Anderson in Illinois. All right. And on and on and on. Emily Cross. I want to give credit to all those people who took time to submit these affidavits. And then here we have Eric McCunis. Okay. Eric is out in Iowa. Amazing guy. Okay. Amazing. Frank Marshall, amazing small businessman, has really helped us out in so many ways. He's gone over to Michigan and Illinois and Indiana to collect. Gerald Smith out in Pennsylvania. He's manning that whole team there. Okay. Jeremiah Cornder. Jeremiah's out in Minnesota. Great work. Okay. Marianne Berry, okay, out in Arizona. And here's Mary Beth Russell out in Missouri, mobilizing people and all the work that they're doing, right? Nicholas Lupo, right? Who's out there manning Kentucky, really doing great work. And here's Nicholas Rivera in Connecticut. Here's Rebecca Mahopoulos, amazing woman who, made sure she knew the rules, Ohio and all the states everywhere. Maria and Jill Jones. And here's Maria's affidavits. Here's Chris Bradley out in Indiana. Chris is running the meeting today. Here's Anna Zillow, Virginia, okay? An MD, PhD. Here's Andrew Rice, a great engineer, great guy who's helping us in many, many areas. Jason Long, right out of here in Massachusetts, and so on. You can't deny any of this now. It's all there. All of it. And to all of you listening, you see, our campaign has real people in it. And they should be inspiring you to be part of this historic campaign. Go ahead, Chris. Chris, I have my phone ready. I can take questions. I'm going to just put out a call so anyone out in social media world, if you want to call in, I'm going to post our number and you can call in to ask any question you want concerning what we're sharing tonight about the corruption of government and how we should be treating these people. So you can call in. It's my direct cell phone number, 617-631-6874. So please feel free to call in. Go ahead, Chris. Next question.
Is it Chris Roberts, I believe?
Yeah, it was Chris Roberts. Yep.
Go ahead, Chris.
By the way, anyone on social media, if you're listening, feel free to call in and share your views on what we're discussing tonight, and we'll bring you in. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, from New York. Kind of ran into the same problem, when the whole COVID nonsense started, couldn't find a lawyer, had to start pro se stuff. So I understand the difficulties in putting together your own, complaints and moving through the court systems,
Hold on
which
1 second. I'll bring you on.
are
Okay.
disgusting.
Thanks. Yes. So go ahead.
So it seems like you could spend a lot of time getting distracted, with their arguments. I mean, obviously you have a campaign, and it's not to put too much effort in that and let them take you off your game of actually getting out there and getting your message across and getting elected.
Yeah,
Thank
Chris.
you.
So remember what we're doing here, Chris, is if you see, we haven't stopped that, right? To the person calling in, please shut off your background, please.
Is that me?
Yeah, you got to shut off your background.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, hold on. So, Chris, I don't think this guy's understanding. So, Chris, the important thing is we have to fight, but we're not just filing a lawsuit. Does that make sense, Chris? Chris Roberts?
Absolutely. I understand that it's more than a lawsuit. I'm just saying, it's a campaign to get elected.
It's that,
sure.
But it's also educating people. Okay? Because we have our movement, in 7 days, we were able to get all those affidavits. Otherwise, it would have been some lone wolf fighting like that guy Hassan did. Follow what I'm saying? Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it's very, very important to understand this. The force that we have created can be mobilized to fight in many, many realms. Today, we're running for a campaign to get on the ballot, okay? Tomorrow could be for something else, okay? Good question. Let me take, I have someone here. Hello, who's this calling in? Please say your name and what's your question. Go ahead. Hello? You have to unmute yourself. Hello?
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah?
Yep, go ahead. We have you live. Go ahead. What's your question?
All right. I'm so happy to be speaking to you this evening, Dr. Shiva. I always say Shiva. I put President Shiva in the comments here and elsewhere, and I encourage other people to get the name out. Familiarize people with the name and your accomplishments. You're a very accomplished individual people, very driven. I'm really calling in not only to show my support, as much as I can, but to also ask you if you can put me in touch with people in Queens that are active in your campaign.
Yes. So what I want you to do is very, very simple. You're asking a great question. Go to Shiva for President. What's your first name?
I'm Fatty. F-A-D-Y.
Fatty. Go to shivaforpresident.com.
Yes.
Click on the volunteer and put your name in, and within 24 hours, you'll get a call. Okay? And we'll connect you to the...
How efficient. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So we have an entire campaign infrastructure, all volunteer run. So please do that, Fadi. We'd love to have you. We have a lot of people in New York. We need to get signatures collected in New York, but simply go to Shiva4president.com. Okay?
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's Shiva4president.com.
Yeah, I just put it up. If you're on the website, you'll see it. Shiva for President.
I'm actually watching the YouTube. I got it
yeah
right now.
So
I see all of our fellow Americans that are supporting you, and that makes me that encourages me too.
That's all right, man. That's good. So get involved. You'll learn a lot. You'll meet good people.
I hear you just mentioned you've got a running mate. Now,
you
don't speak too much about him.
Well, Crystal's here, you know. And what's funny, Crystal Ellis is here, but we'll be doing more talks together. You know, we have very little time to talk because we were just focused on building the movement right now and getting signatures and all this stuff. But you'll be hearing more.
Any updates on this lawsuit? And on that point, my friend did mention that you are to run under the 14th Amendment. That's what all of these candidates do. They run under the 14th Amendment rather than run for the country, because the U.S. Constitution makes a distinction between, or the government makes a distinction between the government and the corporatocracy.
Yeah, so let's not go there right now, okay?
Yeah.
The bottom line is keep a track of our lawsuit, get involved. There's a lot of people get into this constitutional stuff.
Yeah.
And then they sit on their ass and don't do anything.
Okay.
It's like, you ever watch Living Color? Remember that funny show?
I do recall.
With the Wayans brothers. It's a very funny, you should watch that show. Where
I do recall.
Yeah, two guys in prison and they're talking big words and they're having all these conversations, but they don't do anything. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the constitutionalists end up becoming. They talk this and that and this and that, but they won't get on the ground and mobilize people. All right? So don't get stuck in that. Thank you, Fadi. Good to have you. But Fadi, I got other people on. I got that 2,100 people on. I got other people on.
Shiva, it encourages me every time I see you on YouTube. Keep doing it.
Well, get involved, man.
Don't for you.
Yeah, so get involved. I want to root for you when you're out there collecting signatures. Okay?
Got you, Mr. Shiva.
All right, man. Good. Bye. Go ahead, Chris. Next question.
Okay. Anyone else here? If they would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. That will bring you to the top of the list. Here we go. Okay, we got one from David Pantone. Go ahead, David.
So David Pantone, go ahead, David.
Hi, Dr. Shiva.
Just 1 second, David.
I introduced myself.
1 second, David. Before you go, we have a lot of people here, so I have to plug what we're doing here. Everyone out there listening, you want to go to shivaforpresident.com. Go get a bumper sticker like the one I have right here, okay? Put it on the back windshield of your car, back rear windshield. Go to shivaforpresident.com, and 100,000 people per day will see it. That's a simple, lazy man's way of supporting our campaign. $5, shipping included. Go do that. You can go to shivaforpresident.com. If you want to give us money, great. We give you books. We give you courses, how you can become a better citizen. So get involved. You can donate to the campaign. But most importantly, we need to get on the ballot, and we want you to learn how to become a better citizen. So volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. Go to shivaforpresident.com. Go ahead, David.
Basically, I just wanted to reiterate what you're already saying, that it's everybody out there that's the movement, individually, collectively, that's making the difference for sure. And I wouldn't know where to begin or end with the personal experience that I have to say to back it up, but it just means a lot to me that you're saying that, and I just wanted to let everybody know that at least for what it's worth, that I think that you're talking sense. That is the most that's the most important thing, is the movement.
Yeah, David, what you're saying is, look, if I were to just file a lawsuit, oh, I'm thinking of running for president, and I'm filing a lawsuit because naturalized citizens are the same as natural born. You see what I'm saying? That's just sort of theoretical. It's just sort of writing some legal briefs, but that's not what it is. The reason I shared those 140 pages with you guys is we actually have a freaking movement. Every day, I spend at least 10, 12 hours on this campaign with other people who spend 10, 12, 13 hours. All of us are volunteers. So we're asking you to spend 20 minutes a day. Put a bumper sticker on, put that on, because will never be a campaign like ours in the foreseeable future. It's truly by the people, for the people. It is giving people a true opportunity. It is not theoretical. It's real. And that's why I shared all those pictures. That's why this lawsuit is important, because we've won already, because we've exposed their corruption. Thanks, David. Next question.
All right, we'll go to Rob Shetke from Alaska. Go ahead, Rob.
Hi, Dr. Shiva. I just want to thank you. Just before the Zoom, I got to watch your video with Paul Hill, and I have to say, you truly hit everything spot on, and I learned so much just between that and tonight's town hall, and I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Is that Bob? So, Rob,
Rob.
what's interesting? Paul actually is also from Alaska.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yes, we need a good state leader there. I hope you consider at least getting involved.
Well, Henry's on here too, and he's going to be up in the area, and he and I are going to try to get together and do exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So,
but I just wanted to thank you, because I used to be, one, I was a constitutionalist, and two, I was pro-Trump. And since I've been watching you, I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Rob. They're very sweet words. I appreciate your comments. I want you to get involved because people in Alaska, with everything that occurred during COVID, if you remember, they were not treated well, and we had a lot of good volunteers here, but your involvement, Crystal will text you right now, but come to our Saturday. By the way, everyone listening, shivaforpresident.com, go volunteer. You get invited to our Saturday meetings. We're onboarding people all over the country. But thank you, Rob, for those kind comments, but get involved. Crystal, make sure you're connecting with people and onboarding. Everyone listening, go to shivaforpresident.com, volunteer, step one. If you want to get a bumper sticker, please do that. Download the flyer, start handing out that flyer. Okay, let's go to Saber. Again, to people listening at home, if you want to ask any questions, let me put up our phone number. Sorry, I took it down. I think people are asking where is the phone number. If you want to call in, you can call in and ask a question. That's my direct cell number. Feel free to do that. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, next up was William, and then we'll go to Saber. William Douglas.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Shiva. Clearly, the administration's. I'm well. Thank you very much for asking. Clearly, the administration cabinet behind Biden are all Zionists. We're all well aware of that. If I might ask, because many people are being arrested in their efforts. They're being, you know, really, really scared by the
Hello,
saber
Larry, we'll
rattling
bring you on
occurring
in 1
between.
minute. Hold on, please. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. You were
And I will
saying,
keep this-
I just had to take a call. You were
No
saying?
problem. I will keep this very short, Doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. A lot of people are very alarmed about the constant saber rattling between Russia with the mobilization of 750,000 troops, as well as France's effort and, you know, willingness to contribute troops to the Ukraine effort. Is there anything you can briefly present to the audience here that might give them some reassurance that, like, that's not exactly the way things are going to play out right now? Or do you, in your opinion, think that potentially is a likely scenario? Thank you very much. It is appreciated.
Yeah, that's it. So, William, here's the deal, right? If you really look back at the elites, and I don't care who it is, you have to take a very objective view of this. If you go look at the pandemic, if you remember, I was the first one, the only one in March of 2020 to call out the quote unquote pandemic as a fear mongering, which would be used to silence dissent, destroy economies, and push mandated medicine. Those three things. And all of them came to be. Not only did I say that in March of 2020, but I focused on this was fear mongering. And when the elites do these campaigns of fear mongering, they always end up making a shitload of money. 600 billionaires increase their wealth by nearly $2.3 trillion, right? And they locked us down. Please, for God's sake, recognize with all the thinking Putin is fighting the West or the East, or it's BRICS versus US, understand that all of them are ultimately elites. They're part of the swarm. So the way they profit always is by driving humanity to the edge or to some crisis. They always happen to make a ton of money off these crises. The swarm among itself will have its own different fights. That's why I call it the swarm. If you see a bunch of birds, one wants to go in this direction, another wants to go in this direction. Putin may want to go here one day, and Biden may want to go here, but ultimately they'll come together against everyday working people. And you have to understand that. So they may have their differences. They may even start a nuclear war among themselves, okay? They may. They may crash economies. But we, as the working people of this world, we cannot really do anything about what they're doing in this WWE Worldwide Wrestling Federation. And that needs to become very clear. What we can do is to mobilize ourselves, raise our consciousness to understand this dynamic and realize that we should not get caught into their fear mongering. Okay, they're going to start World War III. Well, what are you going to do about it? Go build yourself a bunker, go buy all the food, start getting the food and hiding here, hiding there. Where does that get you? Because they'll do it again, or they'll bring you to the brink of a war, and then you'll sell your home and you'll say, oh my God, I'm going to move into the woods. They'll buy up your home at a low price and they'll ride it out. And that's what they do. Everything they do is based on fear mongering. We need to set that aside over here and say, what is it we, the people, need to do? Well, number one, you need to understand the science of systems. Go to truthfreedomhealth.com. And if you don't do that, you're going to be manipulated in this horse shit, really thinking that Trump is some victim or Booby Kennedy and the Kennedys are some saviors. These people are all of the same swarm. So that's the first thing people need to understand, that this is theater. And the issue is, what is it we are going to do? Well, what we are doing in our movement is we're educating Saber. Chris is getting educated. Chris is educating other people. We're teaching people the knowledge of system science. We're teaching people this dynamic. So we're not there. We don't care what they do. Let them do whatever the hell they're going to do, because you can't really do anything to what they do. But we can raise people's consciousness. You know, in 2020, because of my understanding of system science, we called out Fauci first. We were the first ones who gave people a protocol of vitamin D3. We saved 100 million people's lives or more. We do what we have to do. Let them play their idiotic games and don't get caught in that. That's a lazy man's game to watch WWE wrestling. So for God's sake, don't get caught in their nonsense, because you can't do anything of what they do. Next question. Let me bring this person on. Hi, who do we have on the phone? Hello, go ahead. Hello. Yes, hi. What's your name?
Hey, so this is Zed calling in from San Antonio, Texas, and I just wanted to call and honestly just say hi. I've been following you for like a year now, and the amount of things that you've taught me is truly amazing, and it really blows my mind how much they suppress you and hide you from the public. Because I listen to like a lot of small podcasts, and no one brings you up. No one knows who you are and like what you're doing and stuff like that. It's just truly, truly amazing to me how much they hide you and suppress you. Like, does it really take one person, like only one person like you, to really change the whole world? And like the people that control like the media and stuff, they obviously know that. And
Well,
it's just amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, we have another lawsuit filed about exactly what you're saying. And it's against Elon Musk, Zuckerberg. Look, in 2020, as I've said, 500 million people came to know about me and our movement. I go all over the world, people know about us. So they have to now actively suppress us. Look, I have 3 million followers, and all those followers have stayed exactly the same, man. If you notice that.
I'm not on social media.
Yeah.
But I am on YouTube. But and like I said, I listen to podcasts and stuff like that. I keep up with sports. And no one ever brings you up.
Yeah, because it's too dangerous. Go look at Joe Rogan follows me, but he won't interview me. He's too afraid. So what you can do, what was your first name?
Zed.
Zed. You need to go to Shiva for President, sign up to be a volunteer, and help us get on the ballot. Okay? We have a 42. Yeah, so do that. It's really, really important you do that. And go right now after this phone call and go do that action, man. Go to Shiva for President, sign up for a volunteer, and within 24 hours, you'll get a call from one of our team members to onboard you. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks for calling. Thank you for your kind comments. Look, we don't care if they cover us or not. We're going to just keep building our movement. They know about us. I'm the big elephant in the room they do not want to talk about.
You're a straight up, like, I've been thinking about this, and I think you're just a straight up gangster. You really are. You're just a straight up G. You keep going. You keep doing your thing. You're just truly a thug. You're just truly a thug in heart. You don't give a shit. You really are. You really are. Like, it's amazing. It really is.
What the thing is, did you see the letter that I wrote to that fucker? No, this is a letter. So this guy said I needed to prove that I'm a natural born citizen, which is not even defined. And let me just bring it up for everyone in the audience to remind people. So
I've been keeping up with that.
Yeah, but look what you can see it right on stream. I'm putting it out there. So he wrote me this letter that in order for me to even get the papers to collect signatures, I have to prove to him that I'm a natural born citizenship. I've never heard of this shit. You know?
Wow.
Does he need me to prove something else? You know, that I'm, whatever, right? So the letter we're writing to him, it's saying, Wyoming Secretary of State C.J. Young, I called him the dick of elections division. Okay. I said, I received your letter dated on January 18th. I meditated, prayed, and contemplated on the great seal of Wyoming. It provided direction and comfort. The seal of Wyoming says equal rights.
Yeah.
So I said, as I bowed down to Lord Jesus, that he spoke to me and thundered these words for you. Go fuck yourself. That's our answer to these people. He has no right to ask me to prove. That's like saying, prove to me you're white. Prove to me you're Jewish. Prove to me you're Christian. Show me you're a card-carrying Christian. You see what I'm saying? It's absolutely illegal.
Right.
And people get used to shit. Okay?
That's amazing. Yeah, and I'm going to do my thing, like I said. Again, if you're going to do another town hall call-ins and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, right now we need to get signatures. We need to go get a bumper sticker. Hand out flyers. If you go to Shiva for President, you can find these great flyers for free, print them out, and hand them out to everyone you know.
I got my bumper sticker.
All right, man. That's great, Zed.
Handing out flyers and stuff and, doing my thing. So.
All right, man. That's great.
And then I'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thanks, Zed. Be well.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's take two more. I got Michelle here telling me we got 10 minutes left. All right. Let's go to Saber. Go ahead, Saber.
Hey, Dr. Shiva and everyone. I just wanted to ask a very quick question. From earlier, I know you mentioned a few times with this new judge that they appointed to your case. And I have a kind of excuse my ignorance on this topic with the court system, but
Chad, hold on one second.
Really
I'll bring you in shortly. Hold on. Go ahead, Saber. Yep, you have a question on the court system. Go ahead.
Yeah, so who really decides to switch those judges? Who has that power and authority to move the cases around and assign them to different judges? Because it seems it's pretty obvious that they can sway cases based on understanding what the judge could be doing, ultimately.
Yeah, so what happens is it's like, so you have judges, right, Saber? You have a senior judge in a court, right? Who, remember, so you have judges, you have lower courts, like in the state level, you have the lower courts, the superior courts, you have the appeal courts, then you have the Supreme Court, right? That's at the state level. The federal level, you have the same thing, right? The district court, the appeals court, and the Supreme Court. If you're a judge at a lower court, what do you want to become, Saber?
A judge from the higher courts, right? To become the federal judge?
Exactly. If you're a judge in the appeals court, what do you want to become? You want to be a judge in the Supreme Court, right? So it's one in the club ass-kissing enterprise. You follow? So now the Supreme Court of the United States is a little bit different because everything they do is watched by all of us, right? Millions of people watch what the Supreme Court does. So everything's public. But at the lower courts, like a district court, they think they can get away with things. You follow? So the judges at the senior judge, if he's got junior judges, he knows this is how this guy rules. So when a case comes, if they wanted to go a certain way, they said, oh, I'm going to give it to Judge Bob because Bob you take a position like this. You follow? Now, in this case, the woman, they suddenly switched judges to a Pakistani American woman who won her federal court appointment in a very narrow margin in the U.S. Senate, 50-50, and Kamala Harris had to vote for her. So, it's a, quote unquote, a judge who is of Pakistani American descent. Is the goal to say, okay, put her in to do the dirty work for them, Saber, you follow? So then they could say, see, a woman Pakistani American judge ruled like this. So it must be that a naturalized citizen is different than a natural born citizen. Because if surely a white judge did it, they think, oh my God, they're fearful of racism. You see what I'm saying? That's one theory.
Okay, so the senior judges are pretty much responsible to oversee all these cases and assign them to different judges. Exactly. And it seems in this case, obviously it's in this case that they're putting a lot of pressure on this person, especially that you mentioned she barely passed, the assignment. So now she's pretty much going to be under a lot of pressure.
The appointment, right? A federal judge is appointed by the Senate of the United States. It was 50-50. Remember, it was break even, and the vice president had to step in to vote for her. So anyway, we'll see. It doesn't matter, Saber, what they do. The important thing is I keep emphasizing this. Because we have a movement, whatever they do, we're going to educate people. You say?
Absolutely. Thank you for everything, Dr. Shiva. It's been like incredible level of information because I've always been so fascinated with this background stuff with the court system because you really can represent yourself and you obviously do a way better job than these corrupt lawyers. So thank you so much for bringing all this great information for all of us.
Yeah, but do you understand this guy in Wyoming has no right to ask me about my citizenship? No right.
Of course, he's a bureaucrat.
He's a bureaucrat. It's literally asking you, hey, what's your race? Can you tell me your race? You have no right to do that. So, all right, let's take one more question from Anthony in Florida. But again, a quick break again to everyone. Action is the word. Get involved, get involved. If you're in Arizona, if you're in New Hampshire, if you're in wherever you are, if you're even outside of the United States, you can get involved in our global movement to shatter the swarm. But get involved. Let's go to Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, Dr. Shiva, most of us.
Hold on one second. I got a guy on the phone. He's been waiting. Then I'll come to you. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead. Person on the phone. Who are you?
No problem. Thanks
Sorry.
for taking my call, Dr. Shiva.
Hi, who is this?
This is Chad from California.
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Good. So go ahead. What's your question?
My question is, or really the dilemma I see here is, our world has fallen apart under Biden. And I have just witnessed the serial liar, Adam Schiff, get elected senator in my state, a guy that's spent years lying to us all, dividing our nation. You know, there's massive voter fraud going on in our country. So I'd like to know what you're going to do to tackle this.
Yeah. So, and by the way, what is your name?
This is Chad.
Chad. One of the things you should do, Chad, is come to, every Saturdays, go to Shiva for President, sign up to be a volunteer. Okay. Because we need your help. But let me tell you, look, if you've seen, so you have voter fraud and you have election fraud. There's a big difference. Okay. Election fraud is a systemic stuff that takes place. And that begins, there's 4 layers of election fraud. First is, let's say me, you, 5 other people are running, okay? 2 years before the election, who even gets on TV? Who even gets any play? You follow?
Yeah.
That's the layering 1 of election fraud right there. Who they decide to even push. Got it? Out of nowhere, Obama shows up. Out of nowhere, Vivek the Snake shows up, right? Here's Trump, a complete failed businessman, completely out of business, bankrupt. The Rothschilds funded him. And overnight, they put him on a trajectory to get book deals at The Apprentice and so on, okay?
Right.
A foolish fool like Biden, overnight, he gets to be president. So the first level of election fraud occurs who gets visibility. And that is occurring because the media companies are not being treated like PACs. The New York Times can endorse you or somebody else, but that is PAC advertising. So number 1, what I would do is the media companies, if they're promoting particular candidates and not others, they should be sued. They can't do that. That's called being a political action committee. You follow what I'm saying? So Fox News can promote, they can do 3-hour interviews with Vivek the Snake and make sure you're never on. You follow? That's behaving like a PAC. That's number 1. So once you get over visibility, which we're doing by going on the ground, the second level of voter fraud is to make sure you can't even get on the ballot. You follow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's voter fraud too. And the way they do that voter fraud is to make sure that they manipulate all the states. Oh, don't give them access to the ballot. They make it very hard to collect signatures. Arrest your people. You follow? The Democrats don't need to do that. The Republicans don't need to do that. Booby Kennedy raises money and goes hire signature collectors. You say they're not doing what we're doing. That's the second level of voter fraud. The third level is, let's say you get visibility, you get on the ballot, then you're supposed to be on the debate stage. They suddenly don't do debates. They don't put you on the debate stage. Third level of voter election fraud. Then finally, let's say you actually win the election like I did in Massachusetts in 2020. They then flip the voting machines. Then they have all sorts of ways to do that. You follow?
No.
Well, that's why hand-counted paper ballots with voter IDs. But you see, there's 4 levels of election fraud. It's not just any one. And I have a solution for each one of those. Trump doesn't want to solve election fraud. He wants to make money off of it. He used all of my material and made about $500 million. Okay? So don't think it's just Biden. It's both of them. It's all WWE wrestling. It's theater. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well. Yeah, get involved, man. Go to Shiva for President. We need your help. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Shiva.
Yeah, be well. Have a good evening. All right, everyone. Let's go to Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony. Anthony, go ahead. This will be our last question.
All right, Dr. Shiva. Yeah, most of us in the movement are already aware of the opposition that we're going to be facing here from the shadow government with their stranglehold on the democratic process. So to end on a positive note, we're going to have to get out there and being happy that we got this movement is one thing, but we need to get out there and get votes and spread awareness, because you can't expect this movement to get any coverage from the lying horror media when we're advancing here. So the short-term goal is bury these bureaucrats with nomination papers in every state. And what's happening in is it Wisconsin?
Wyoming.
Wyoming. Yeah, Wyoming. We need people, we need strong men down there physically going into the courthouse and rattling some cages here, because this is just the beginning. So I spoke to you last week at an open house, and we were making fun of Elon Musk. I was working at the
No, I
Space
remember
Force
you.
Base.
No, I remember that. Yeah, I don't forget.
So yeah, so I went through the program. I got in the NDAs. I collected some signatures today, leaving the barbershop. And when you get into the Element server, people, I see there's 100 people here in the server. Everybody needs to be getting involved, and you can share techniques and strategies to avoid the rejection, using language, advanced language patterns, and that type of thing to take control of the conversation up front, and finding events, local events, rather than standing outside of retail stores. You seem to be able to get a better response there and target the young crowds, make sure they're registered voters, obviously. But that's what we need to do. That's the short-term goal. Just get the movement out bottoms up, because and social media, because we're already being shadow banned. And obviously Fox News and CNN is not going to be putting Truth, Freedom, Health on their little 90-second spin-off. So let's focus, guys. Get on the ground and let's get this ball rolling.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So one of the things, Anthony, is there's a broader issue here, is that the entire concept here is building a bottoms-up movement. And the process that you're talking about, signature collection and getting out there, we're going to do it the fair way. They cheat. But us getting out there, people having the opportunity to connect with people, is an amazing opportunity to do that. So everyone needs to get very aggressive, Anthony, to your point. Get out there, find people, take your nomination papers. If you go to dinner, lunch, you said you went to the barber shop, right? Wherever you go, get everyone to collect and let them know that we're running for office, and get them to sign our papers. And people need to get innovative and clever and use good old American ingenuity, right? Not be whining, oh, I went here and then the police came. Well, go somewhere else. Keep trying. So thanks, Anthony. I appreciate your spirit and your thoughts. Thank you very much. Chris says they won't put us on social media. They won't even acknowledge a campaign in boldface line legal filings. Exactly. Right? So look, because we have a movement, we don't care what they do. We're very, very fully aware. Our eyes are wide open what they do. So we'll fight on all fronts. We have the legal suit going. We have a very powerful lawsuit filed. And whatever they do, Anthony, at the end of the day, we win, because they're going to expose themselves, right? If they, there's no arguments they have. If they say, oh, Trump is over here, but you're over here, well, they're going to reveal themselves. Violation of the Equal Protection Clause. That means for Trump, it's a different rule than me. You see what I'm saying? So whatever they do, we win. But we lose if we don't act. If we don't get on the ground, if we don't do activities, we lose. But as long as we're driving our own destiny by doing actions, we win every microsecond we do that. All right, everyone. It was really a pleasure for me to do these town halls. So again, the lesson in this town hall is governance, that we have corrupt government bureaucrats like this guy, CJ Young. We don't take it lying down. Crystal and I spoke about this. We're going to just go and collect the signatures. Fuck you. Okay. That's our answer. And if he doesn't get that, he'll be sued. And personally, I may think of personally suing him for the emotional trauma he's caused me. Okay. But that's the way we deal with these guys. We go right at them. To Anthony's point, we'll go rattle their cages. But we go do what we have to do. We don't wait. We don't whine. We don't make up excuses. We just keep doing. And, it's Thursday evening, and we still have 110 people, and we're close to 2,369. Let me just show the people on Zoom so you can see the numbers here. So you can see the number of people that are on our live tonight. Okay. Typically we only get 200 people or 150 people. And you can see we have close to, let me go over here. If I'm inversing it here, but you see the number up here, 2,000, 2,204 live viewers, if you guys can see that, okay? There we go, 2,204 live viewers. That's what we have right now, all right? So we're the big elephant in the room, and we just keep moving forward, all right? To our people out in New Zealand and Asia Pacific, I know you guys met with Andrew Rice. We'll reconnect again. To Rajesh in Singapore, thanks for being there again. And to everyone out there, thanks for showing up and take action. Thank you, everyone. Be well, be the light. Best to you and your. Thank you. Be well. And let me sign off here. And to our people on social media, thank you, everyone. As I leave, I'm going to play our campaign theme. But get involved, get involved, get involved. To everyone on social media, get involved.
Who would have ever thought I'd be running for president of the United States of America? I was born a low caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working-class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors are blacks, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I wrote 50,000 lines of software code to create the world's first email system, and was awarded the first U.S. copyright for email, recognizing me as its official inventor at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I did that long before I ever came to MIT, revealing that big innovations can occur anytime, any place, by anybody. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion in both America and India, to have us fighting each other while they remained safe in their gated communities and in their playgrounds of Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard, and Silicon Valley. I'm a fighter. I fought racism and exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed when I saw working Americans as never before being duped by the establishment, and the not-so-obvious establishment. Across left and right, we were being sold out and made to forget why we came to America and why America existed. Lawyers, academics, billionaires, celebrities, and politicians, elites, Clintons, Kennedys, Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, black and white, have hijacked America. They printed trillions for their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism. They've transferred trillions to themselves, dividing black and white, fear-mongering, and fake science. Lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food, and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. One set of rules for them and another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage in putting everything on the line for you, who believes in you, not them, who has created a movement bottoms up for truth, freedom, health. I've exposed their lies at the right time, never waiting until it was popular. I've exposed their false gods who exist to lead you back to them. I've exposed their fake science of lockdowns and masking and provided you solutions to fight them and win and protect your immune system, saving millions. I exposed Fauci, galvanized the Fire Fauci campaign when others remained silent. When they stole our election, we sued the government and Twitter in our historic 2020 federal lawsuit, exposing in bare view the government and big tech censorship infrastructure, the unholy alliance between government and social media companies. Where was Elon and his grifters? They stood by the sidelines and did nothing. They did not use their megaphones to help us when it could have made a big difference. Now our movement grows for truth, freedom, health, independent of all of them. Every day, millions are learning the science of systems, the knowledge the elites do not want you to have, so you may learn how to think, stand up, and fight, independent of the establishment of left and right and their fake heroes. Now it's time for you to join the movement, to win back America, to win back truth, win back freedom, win back your health. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. This race is about you. This race is about truth, freedom, health versus power, profit, control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers, celebrities, billionaires, and chosen ones from above. We choose our heroes from below, from the rank and file, who do what is right at the right time, not when it's convenient and popular. They can never represent us. What America needs is a movement by the working people, for the working people, who are educated, organized, decentralized, and fight for independence from their systems of control. And that movement exists. It's ready for you. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we had one of us. It's time to win back truth, freedom, health. to win back America. Be part of this historic movement, all the way to our victory on November 5th, 2024. If you're an American citizen, pledge your vote now for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the independent candidate for U.S. President. No matter where you live, you can be a part of this. Volunteer as little as 20 minutes a day. Don't delay. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I approve this message, paid for by Dr. Shiva for President.
All right, everyone. I hope that was valuable. Please note that every Thursdays we do our town hall, and you're all invited to come to them. You can go right there. You can go to vashiva.com/orientation or shivaforpresident.com/town hall for our 8 p.m. town hall. Get involved. Go get one of those bumper stickers right there at shivaforpresident.com. Sign up to volunteer, and become a part of the movement for Truth, Freedom, Health. Go to truthfreedomhealth.com. Check out the program that we put together for all of you to get involved. Be well. Be the light. I wish you and your families a very good night. Thank you.